United States has now extended its travel ban on European countries to the UK and Ireland. And the Foreign Office, well, it's now advising British passengers against all but essential travel. So what's the position if you've got a trip booked in the near future? I don't think it's going to be good news. Joining me now, the travel journalist and editor of JetSetJourneys.com, Jill Starley-Grainger. Jill, good to see you this morning. I have a list of questions as long as my arm, so let's dive straight on in. Our first one, if I've got a holiday booked, should I cancel it? Will I be refunded in any way?
So if you have a holiday booked in the very near future, I would say probably at least up through the end of April. There's an incredibly high chance that you would be refunded because most flights are being cancelled. In fact, we've just heard from British Airways that they are expecting to cancel about 75% of their flights to America in March and April. So whoever you have your holiday booked with, I would definitely, get on the phone or get on the web chat and ask them what they're doing about rescheduling. So in most cases, what they will ask you to do is to reschedule your trip or your flight for later in the year. And that's fine, but if you would rather have your money back, if the flight has been canceled, you are typically due your money back. There are a few situations where that might not happen, but in most cases you should get your money back. Crucially, if anybody offers you vouchers or credit, do not take it. Instead, it is better to either get your money back or rebook your trip for later in the year, and you will actually have more rights so that if anything does go wrong, when you have an actual physical trip booking, then you tend to have more rights. So really try not to accept vouchers or credit if you can. This has left a lot of people who had Thomas Cook vouchers out of pocket, unable to get their money back, whereas those who had trips booked were able to get their money back.
Of course, plenty of people like to go to the four corners of the earth for their holidays, but we do have an entire continent on our doorstep, and we can get there in our car. I mean, if we drive to Europe, is that a safe holiday for us to be planning?
I would say in the short term, it is probably not terribly advisable. I, of course, travel all the time. I love travel. I've been, very shocked by everything that has been happening. But essentially, we now have France, Spain, Italy, Belgium, all sorts of countries right on our doorstep are going into lockdown. And there's a real risk that even if you are able to get to these countries that have these restrictions in place, that you might not be able to get back. And it's worth bearing in mind that travel insurance, if you had travel insurance sorted before all of this happened, you'll be totally fine. But if you try to take out new policies, many new policies are currently excluding anything to do with coronavirus, and lots of them are excluding that really important travel disruption cover. Now that cover is what would protect you financially if you ended up having to be quarantined at the other end. So if you did happen to make it to, Croatia or Austria, all countries which are essentially in lockdown now, but if you did make it there and they decided that they were restricting movement throughout the country and you suddenly couldn't leave, you would end up having to foot the bill for your longer hotel stay if you did not have that travel disruption cover. So unfortunately, I would say in the very short term, it's probably not wise to try to book new trips.
Jill, I just want to try and slip in one last question. Someone sitting not too far away from you right now has got rather a lot of time off work booked over the next couple of months, and he's wondering where to go. Staycations, are those safer, or is your advice that I should just stay at home?
So in the UK, obviously there is no restriction on movement right now. And I would imagine that in a lot of ways, particularly if, as you said, you have a car and you can drive yourself to something like a lovely cottage in Cornwall or, a nice little very small country house hotel, maybe in the Yorkshire Moors, something like that, I would think you would probably be okay, but there are no guarantees. However, I do feel like if any travel restrictions come in place in the UK, there will, as there has been everywhere else, there will be a grace period. So you would at least find out, okay, they're going to stop people leaving Yorkshire or whatever it is in a few days. So you would have time to get back. So I do feel like UK holidays are safe. I would perhaps maybe veer towards those countryside locations where you would have less contact with people. And of course, if you are over, as we know, 65, 70, where there's a much higher risk of problems with this illness, you might want to question if you want to be in any situation where you would be around lots of other people. I don't know what the government advice is going to be for that, but...
Well, do you know what, Jill? I hear Scotland's lovely at this time of year. Jill Starley-Grainger, many thanks for joining us.